Welcome, friends, to my Media Museum and episode 5 of box 11 of our 45 RPM vinyl records collection. And we're thrilled to have you here with us today. Starting off with Kenny Loggins, I'm Alright. The theme from Caddyshack, and can't hear that song without seeing that little gopher. Go get him, Bill, go get him. And the B-side on that was Lead the Way, and it's apparently taken from the Caddyshack soundtrack as well, so Kenny Loggins had more than just the theme song in that movie. He had at least two. And you'll notice we've got some notations here, and a little sticky note that the guy that I bought these off of has says that hit number 7 was on the charts for 12 weeks in August of 1980. So I definitely remember that song well. I remember the movie. They played the death out of it on the radio. And going back to episode 4 here, I got a little chatty at the end, kind of ran short on time. I wanted to point out this Hall of Fame sleeve. This is the Columbia's reissue series, but they had a specific sleeve for it, which I didn't point out. And that Heart to Heart that was on the B-side of Footloose, being from November 1982, hitting number 15. This is the reissue for sure. This isn't the original, which probably would have looked a lot more like this. The orange labeled, that would have been the original. The reissue series clearly is a little different label. But yeah, I just wanted to rehash that just briefly to point out that that was a reissue vinyl in the original reissue sleeve, which is cool to have. So next up, we've got Billy Preston doing Nothing from Nothing, Nothing from Nothing Leaves Nothing. Hit number 1, which is surprising because kind of not an extremely well-written song in my opinion, but I guess it is kind of catchy. Not against Billy Preston. His big claim to fame in my world is the work he did with the Beatles on Let It Be. And I don't know if you're familiar real well with the Beatles history, but you know, Let It Be was recorded before Abbey Road, but released afterwards. So Abbey Road was the last album the Beatles recorded and released together. Let It Be was an abandoned project at that point, actually, that they went back, polished up. Well, actually, George Martin, I believe, went back, polished up, and released as the final Beatles album. But Billy Preston was on 6-7 songs on that album. He was in the studio with the Beatles during the sessions for Let It Be. He was a peacekeeper, from what I've read, between Paul McCartney and John Lennon, and was trying to keep things, you know, on track. So there's Billy Preston's big claim to fame in my corner of the world. I know he's known for doing a few other songs. Will It Go Round in Circles, I think, was his too, which is from George Harrison. But anyways, the B-side of this is a song called Struttin', which apparently also hit it on the charts. This is a Forget-Me-Not, so there again we've got another reissue, clearly known to be a reissue here from A&M. This one being from the Kids and Me album, hit number 22 in January of 75. Nothing from Nothing was also from the same album, but that was the number 1 hit there that he had. So, moving on, we've got another Billy Preston here that I am not familiar with by the title. But given that it hit number 2 in May of 72, I'm betting this is one of those that if I put it on, I would recognize it. But Out of Space, kind of play on outer space, or out of space. That's what I am on my DVD shelves, no doubt. But clearly marked as the A-side, so there again we know. But it's also one of those memories. I showed you that earlier. The memory label was A&M's. They had memories and they had Forget-Me-Nots. They had 2 different re-release labels going for them at different points in time, apparently. But the B-side being a nice title, God Loves You. So, thank you, Billy. Always good to know. So, next up, we've got another Motown reissue. Yesteryear series is what they noted one of their reissue lines as. But this one's from 1966. according to the copyright. The notations here say it hit number 7 in 1970, August of 70. So kind of 4 years apart there. That's a little bit of a head scratcher. And then you get the 1973 date here, which is quite probably the date of this reissue. But I Know I'm Losing You, that's a really well-known Rare Earth song. I Know I'm Losing You. And then Get Ready, which hit number 4 in April of 1970. So this is a double hit reissue, which is usually the case when they've got these golden series or yesteryears or memories. It's usually hit songs on both sides. Not always, but usually. And then when you get into like collectibles, the producer, distributor collectibles, they would often not even honor any of that. They'd have completely different bands and completely different sides on the A and B sides. There again, usually hit songs, but sometimes a little bit more on the obscure side. So we've got us a nice Warner Brothers sleeve here, which is matching the Warner Brothers reissue copy of Do You Think I'm Sexy by Rod Stewart. Hit number 1 in December of 78. If you want my body and you think I'm sexy. Blondes have more fun. Okay, Rod. And the B-side being a song called Ain't Love a Bitch, which does seem to kind of ring a bit of a bell for me. And since it hit number 22 in March of 79, I'm sure it's another song that I'd know. But if you're familiar with the channel and you know me, you know I'm not a Rod Stewart fan. I bite my lip and try really hard not to talk bad about particular artists that we run across, because I want to keep the channel positive and happy. And every time I talk bad about Bruce Springsteen or somebody, I always end up with thumbs down. And we want thumbs ups. We don't need no thumbs down. So, anyways, back-to-back hit of Rod Stewart songs there, one of which I knew well. This next one is a bit of an interesting one because we got the Archies, which you know is best known for Sugar, Sugar, Doo 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 Doo. But this song here, Jingle Jangle, apparently hit number 10 in December of 69. So there again, this could quite possibly be another one of those that the title doesn't ring a bell for me. But throw it on the turntable and let that needle into the groove, and all of a sudden these sparks can sometimes fly. And you're like, oh yes, I remember this, I remember that, and associate with this or that. This one's really interesting too. The B-side's a song called Justine. But that's not the part I was saying is interesting. What's interesting to me is the guy I bought these off of, he's got a lot of these post-it notes on here. It says very good plus, worth $4 at that point in time for the song Jingle Jangle. But that notation definitely wouldn't apply to this side. I mean, very good plus. I'd be a little disappointed if I bought that from someone. Now this side does, yes. The vinyl looks really good on this side, and the label's not in terribly bad shape. But when your B-side's trashed, I think that keeps it from being very good in any way, shape, or form in my book. So, anyways, moving on again. We've got a Columbia Hall of Fame sleeve, but I don't believe it's a Hall of Fame vinyl. I think it's just a regular Columbia release. We've got Dave Mason and We Just Disagree. There's only you and me, and we just disagree. Great song. Dave Mason, I believe he was with Traffic, if I remember correctly. I'm fairly familiar with the band Traffic, Steve Winwood, but I wasn't a huge fan during the time. But I'm pretty positive that's where Mr. Mason came from, was out of Traffic. And the B-side being a song called Mystic Traveler. And if I'm wrong on those memories there, I'm sure people will let me know in the comment section. I'm always open to corrections, constructive criticism, positive input. I even love to hear stories about people's memories with particular songs, because that's what a lot of these do for me. You're going through these 45s and you see a song and you associate it with a person or a point in time or something that happened in your life. That's always fun. So anyways, Dave Mason. Moving on to our next one, and we are staying in that theme of re-releases here, because now we've got the Columbia Hall of Fame series with the Santana doing Evil Ways. You've got to change your evil ways, baby. And that's from December of 1969. The B-side is also a Santana song that I am familiar with, Jingo, which came off of the first Santana album, again, October of 1969. So the other one was December. So I guess actually Jingo was before, but I do believe Evil Ways is the bigger hit, more well-known song that we've got going on there. So next up, we've got a band that I believe switched from rock to country. Little River Band. I did like them in the beginning. Their first album had a lot of really good songs on it. Maybe the second one too, I'm not sure. But I do remember there were a couple of Little River Band songs that I really liked as a child. Man on Your Mind is one that I'm familiar with. You got that man on your mind, 1981. And the B-side of that particular platter is Orbit Zero, which isn't a song of theirs I'm familiar with. Now that one says it's from Time Exposure, and Man on Your Mind was also from Time Exposure. So, we're going to leave off here with this episode, ending with the McCoys doing Hang On, Sloopy, Sloopy, Hang On. Now that's kind of more of a novelty song in my book, but hit number 1 in September 1965. So we're going back a ways. And it is Sloopy, not Snoopy, as I pronounced it one time. Hang on, Snoopy. Yeah, one of the earlier videos, I believe I mispronounced that word that way. So good luck. Go back and find that. It only take about 3 days to watch all the videos on the channel and try and find it. Had some stats in the first episode of this series because it was the anniversary of the channel recently. We hit the 1-year mark. B-side here is a song called Fever. I don't recognize that one either, but I hope you enjoyed that. And come on back and join us for part 6 coming soon.